Missouri week rolls on. The Rocky Top Roundtable alongside Eric Kane, Rob Lewis, and Brent Hubbs. I'm Austin Price, guys. Tennessee, big favorites, 3-touchdown favorites heading into this Missouri game on Saturday. Missouri's been pesky against a lot of teams this year. Something tells me Tennessee's motivated. They've heard all week about Georgia, and all that stuff, and got to get back up on the horse and ride.
Well, I mean, they got plenty to play for, Rob. If they have a hard time getting themselves motivated this week, then they've not paid much attention to the outside noise.
Everything is still right there in front of them. I mean, we've talked about it, we've written about it, but if you're just talking about the college football playoff, Tennessee takes care of business these next 3 weeks. I mean, I think they're right in the thick of it.
Yeah, and the question is, do you go out there and do you run up the score and try to win by 30 or 40 or
yes,
whatever?
Yes, you
do. But I mean, that's Tennessee's game.
You just play Josh Heupel football. I mean, they're going to score. He's not taking a knee with 30 seconds to play, as we saw in the UT Martin game. So it doesn't change their mindset of how they go about their business, right? Just go score. But they do have to be impressive.
Yeah, they do, and I think, again, I think they're motivated. I think Tennessee will go out there and take control of this game in the first quarter. That's just me. I know, as we've spoken on this week, that Missouri defense is really pesky. They play really hard. They're good fundamentally, which is shocking because they were anything but that last year. But I think Tennessee will just come back out and bounce back in the right way.
You look at some of the deficiencies they had a week ago. We'll start with the pre-snap penalties. I mean, you're not going to get that this week. You're playing at home, but at the same time, that's something Tennessee's got to clean up. They'll have to go to South Carolina. South Carolina's a decently loud stadium, so it's something they'll have to deal with going forward.
Well, no doubt, but this is the first time that they've experienced. I mean, look, we were at Pittsburgh. There's no noise there.
And LSU, they jumped around the gate.
There was nothing there. So for J.J. Crawford and some of those guys, it was the first time they were there. And for some of these players in general, Rob, it's the first time they've been on that stage in that moment. I don't think they were intimidated or afraid, but I think the moment was probably bigger than even they anticipated it would be.
I agree. I mean, it's kind of hard to – I'm with you. I don't think they were intimidated, but Georgia was just far more comfortable on that stage with everything that was at stake. I mean, and they've been there. They've been there for 3-4 years. I mean, guys that are seniors in that program have played in a handful of these games. And meanwhile, this was the biggest game, not just for these players, but for the program this century. And that showed up on Saturday, and I really didn't think it would. But once you saw them out on the field, I mean, I felt like you could tell. I mean, just what you're talking about. It was different for Tennessee than it was for Georgia.
It just felt chaotic for Tennessee.
No, it definitely did.
I mean, being there, it just felt, to me, I don't know, maybe it didn't for you, Eric, it just felt like it was a bit chaotic for Tennessee from the get-go.
Yeah, I mean, and again, something you pointed out in your rewatch, it's never found a rhythm, whether it be a penalty here, picking up a flag here, an injury here. Tennessee could never consistently get in a rhythm offensively, and the false start penalties, going back to it, I mean, it was on first downs, playing behind the sticks. It was on third downs. Whenever it's third manageable or 3rd and 2, then you have consecutive false starts. They were the most impromptu times for Tennessee, and that affected the way you call a game, as Alex Golesh would mention. So as far as the false starts, I mean, I spoke with a former NFL offensive lineman this week, and he said, hey, you're not looking at the ball. You're looking at it, scouting this guy, seeing where you're going. If you can't hear, I mean, that's an issue, and I mean, credit that crowd. They did a really good job in that regard.
That's something you can somewhat overcome, though. At 1st and 15, 2nd and 20, you can still pick up 20 yards. You can still pick up 15 yards. Turnovers, though. Now, one pick, I mean, Ringo just ran the route better than Cedric Tillman. Hendon shouldn't have threw it. It is what it is. He's thrown 2 picks all year. But this right here, especially with Jabari Small looking like he's going to battle that shoulder this year, Jalen Wright can't keep doing this or those are possessions Tennessee may not get back.
Yeah, and again, it was raining and all those things there. I give you that. But that ball was knocked away from behind. He's got to be aware and understand that. And look, Tennessee's going to have to run the football against Missouri. I think Missouri is going to, they're going to test you that way, and they're going to try to play some bail coverage and do some things to try to keep the ball in front of you and sort of make you have some patience as well. So Tennessee's going to have to run the football. Is there a comfort level enough for Dylan Sampson in pass protection that you can play him 8 consecutive snaps in a series where you got some tempo? I don't know. I don't know Jalen Wright's needs to play 65 snaps in a football game, though.
No, I agree with you on that. I just think he's not there in his career. Again, he's only a sophomore, and didn't play a ton in high school. Remember, lost his last year due to COVID, and was a share the carries type guy his junior year. So I mean, like again, when you talk about just like football age, he's still relatively young.
Fundamentally, he's just got to squeeze the ball better. I mean, he just has to hold on to the ball better.
Now, As for Missouri, we talked about how pesky they've been. It's a little different animal. Kneeling will be loud. It's senior day, a lot of emotions. I think this is the type of game where if Tennessee, jumps on them early, they smother them and run away. Agree?
Missouri just can't score enough. I mean, they're 13th in the league in scoring offense. I mean, and we're deep enough now where, what the numbers say you are, that's who you are after 9 games. And Missouri scores just barely over 20 points a game. And I, as others have referenced, I think Tennessee will be hungry. I think they want to show that what happened in Athens is not what we're about.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I mean, as good at times as that defense for Missouri, and they play hard. I mean, we mentioned the safeties come down, they hit, and that Tyron Hopper transfer from Florida at middle linebacker, he's been a really, really good player. Tennessee's not going to be held to 17 points or 18 points. That's what they're doing in conference play right now. And if you can't keep up with Brady Cook in that offense, you're not going to win the football game. So I think Tennessee comes out and wins comfortably. I know they're a 3-touchdown favorite in this football game, but I think it's early Austin, and I think it's early and often.
Yeah, and here's the thing, too. When you look at who Missouri's played, and I don't want to take anything from their defensive effort, but they've not played the better offensive teams in this league.
Yeah.
I mean, Kentucky struggles to score. Vanderbilt struggles to score. South Carolina has struggled to score. So that's probably helping the defensive numbers. And here's the other thing, too. As crazy as it sounds, Tennessee's defense is playing pretty doggone good football.
I agree.
I mean, I know they got beat. They gave up 27 points. They gave up 3 big plays. But when you look at where they are right now, they're playing pretty good football out of Tim Banks' group.
I don't disagree. I mean, I think Kirby took the foot off the gas to some degree in the second half, but still, I mean, you hold Georgia to a field goal. It wasn't like they weren't trying to score or move the football. I mean, I do think Georgia was a lot less aggressive. But I think all of us, if you had told us Georgia was going to score 27 points and we're sitting here last week, we all have thought Tennessee was going to win.
When you look at this team, they continue to, kind of find, different guys each week. I thought it was a nice bounce back, last week in the kicking game, especially with the field goal kicker.
With Chase McGrath.
Yeah, with Chase McGrath. Totally lost what I was thinking. I mean, he bounced back, had 2 nice kicks, in what was a tough environment.
Yeah, he was. And again, I think that's the thing about this team. This team has bounced back pretty well. I don't think Hendon Hooker played particularly great. I think he'll play better this week. I don't think the wide receivers will play better this week than they did a year ago or a week ago. And I think they'll play better up front. I think Javonte Spraggins had a tough day. I think he'll have a better day. I think that's what this team is about. I think that's the leadership of this team and why you feel comfortable in feeling like Tennessee should be able to handle their business. Austin, you've made a great point all week long. The schedule's nice. It is a home game as opposed to going to South Carolina back-to-back weeks on the road at night. So that's a big plus for Tennessee, I think, going into this game as well.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, too, I mean, Georgia is a good football team. Georgia may be the best football team in the country. It certainly beat Tennessee, and it looked like it on Saturday. That does not mean that Tennessee is not one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the country. I still think Tennessee is a really, really good team. And if that were to happen, like what happened on Saturday against Kentucky or against an LSU, maybe there's some concern there. But I just think it's snap and clear, move on, and get back after it. And I think they're going to do that in a big way against Missouri.
Yeah, no doubt. Just like the fact that Tennessee benefited from playing the Alabama game at home, Georgia benefited Saturday from playing at home.
Yeah.
For Eric Kane, Rob Lewis, and Brent Hubbs, I'm Austin Price for the Rocky Top Roundtable.